Hi, folks. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, when or wherever you may be. Now, as you can see by the title of the video, this one might be a bit more technical, if I might say so, but I think it's a needed video, and that explains a lot of the whys of some things that are happening right now. First of all, I'm going to tell you a little story, a simple one. Back in the 2010s, when the big economic crash affected Europe, especially Portugal, Spain, Italy, and Greece, and then it's spread out. A lot of people don't know why that happened. And that happened because, number one, there were exterior reasons for this to happen. Mainly Portuguese banks that were connected with disaster capitalism investors in London, for example, and I'm talking about our case that I know, and that lost a lot of money. Two major banks went bankrupt. Basically, they could not pay their customers, and they lost all of their customers' money. To this day, one of those banks, BES, BES, it's still in the. It was nationalized, and I think they are going to try to dismantle it, or they already dismantled it and integrated it into the State Bank of Caixa Geral de Depósitos, CGD, which is a major bank and very reliable. Of course, it's a safe bank. And another one, which was the BN or BNE, something like that. It was a business bank. When that happened, well, the practical effect was our national debt that we sold on the market became trash. Easy way to say it. And back then, I think a lot of our politicians, they realized that maybe basing our economy solely on world markets and business, so to speak, this is a very simplistic way of explaining it, okay? And I'm trying to keep it very simple. But basically, investing money in your economy and then investing that money in banks and whatever, and then collecting the profits, okay? Maybe that was a bit pardon me, just had my lunch. Uh, um, Maybe that was a bit unreliable. So they started to bring back the gold. Simple as this. And Portugal has a lot of gold. Okay, you can see online how many tons we have, but go and see it, and you maybe will be surprised. But let's continue. And so what did they do? First, they brought the gold to Portugal, and then half of it, right now, half of it stayed inside of Portugal, in a national bank, of course, in a national vault, and another part was distributed all over Europe, mainly in Paris and in the UK, where to this day in the UK, I'm talking about the UK, it has served as a political and economical leverage over the UK even after Brexit. This is also important for people to understand the power that gold still has. Because you see, whenever currency crashes, and we saw that in 2010, and we are seeing it right now with the dollar, countries buy gold. Why? It's as simple as this. Imagine that country A is selling their national debt bonds, to be more simple, in the market. Investors know that if they buy those bonds, that country has gold to pay them off if there is any kind of trouble with their economy. So It's as simple as this. Is to have it's like having a mortgage over a good, and that good is gold, and gold backs up currency. So the yuan has gold to back it up. The euro has gold to backing it up. Okay, you understand? This is the logic behind it. And you can say, well, the dollar also has maybe also has gold to back it up. Yes, but have you seen the dimensions of the American uh, sovereign debt? Trillions? Not enough gold to do that. Okay, so I hope that you have understand the first part of my video. Meaning, in the sense, this is why countries buy gold. This is why countries own gold. This is why blocks of countries like the EU have gold in order to prevent attacks on their economy, because this also works in another sense. If someone, for example, tries to devaluate the euro, or do this or do that, okay, we have gold to back it up and to protect our economy, and we invest in our national debt, buying it up, sorry, if it is needed. This is a very simplistic way to explain this, okay? I'm not trying to be over technic. I'm being technic in the sense that I'm explaining the greater moves of it all, but I'm not going into the detail. Okay, number one, because I think I should not do it, because there are far more competent people to do it, and number two, because I also think it's not important, because I'm just trying to explain you this notion in order for we to pass to the next one. Now, the dollar. The dollar, to put it bluntly, has been based on the price of oil. This is why you had all the wars in the Middle East. You still have wars in the Middle East. This is why before the current regime that is in Iran, the British serving as puppets of the Americans, and the Americans. And I'm not. Look, I'm being honest. Okay, if you don't if you don't believe me, my friend, grab yourselves a history book and read a bit. Okay, or go online and watch a video. But these countries, especially, not just them. Okay, but these countries, especially, they were supporting the regime of the Shah. And the regime of the Shah, he was not a nice guy. I know people like to watch those videos where Iranian girls or women used to walk around like Western girls, but the same thing happened in other places in the Arab world. Okay, because covering up women, and now I'm going to be a bit. I know I will probably be attacked by this, but covering up women has nothing to do with fucking religion. Okay. Even here in Portugal and in other Catholic countries, women used to be forced when entering in a church to cover their hair. So this has nothing to do with Christianity, with Muslims. Okay, this has just to do with culture and a general policy of trying to control people. And if you control women in a society, you are damn sure you are going to control the narrative, and you are going to control people. Okay, but this is a subject for another video that I will make about this, talking about this specific aspect. But let's continue. But the Shah was a dictator. Okay, he killed people, he disappeared people into dungeons. Okay, he influenced politics. He practically did whatever the hell he wanted to do. And this only gave more strength to the religious clergymen. Okay? Because people, they were so desperate that they held on to religion. Just like Around here, for example, if there's a catastrophe, everyone is praying or whatever. Okay, I'm sorry I don't go into that place, but a lot of people go, and it's all right. It's human. It's natural. Okay, we don't criticize people for their religious beliefs. Okay, that's silly, to be honest. But and why was this happening? Why would this sustain that country, so to speak, in those conditions? Oil. Why did the United States invaded Iraq? Oil, especially after Iraq invaded Kuwait. Oil. Why does the United States support Saudi Arabia? Oil. Do you see the pattern? Why did the United States is trying to control Venezuela beyond where rare earths and distractions from the Epstein files, which is an opinion that I find a bit child, infantile. Okay, oil. This is what is behind Nigeria. Oil. This is what is behind all of this. Okay, because oil sustains the American economy. And back in 2010, I think a lot of people in Europe, I heard them. I heard the experts talking about the incoming end of the American dominance in the petrodollar, that we should have our gold back. Reason why, like I told you in the beginning of the video, in 2022, all of the gold was back home, so to speak. Okay? Because the pattern is changing. Because we are not going to use as much oil as we did in the past. Because I don't know in how many years it will happen, but if I'm going to take a wild guess, I will say 20 years. Because in less than 20 years, oil will become irrelevant and the subject for collection cars and a couple of more things. Because we are changing the type of energy that we use. Because we are changing, unlike the United States, that seems to be stuck in the 80s, sorry, but it's true, we are moving into things like we have here in Europe and in Asia, in China, in Japan, in Korea, whatever. South Korea, North Korea is still in the Middle Ages, but we have public transportation for everyone. Okay, we have quick access to public transportation. We are moving into slower electric cars. I'm sorry, they're slower. Okay, but we are moving towards that. And even for someone like me that enjoys driving his car, and I drove bikes also and all of that, okay, road bikes also and all of that, it's better for the environment and it's better for everyone. So if it's better for everyone, we should embrace the change. And look, and this change is going to happen. Look, I keep saying this. Just last year, Portugal reached almost 70% of only green energy. Okay, so this is going to happen, and it's like this AI bubble. It's going to burst. Okay, because you cannot have these huge data centers gobbling up resources for Grok to publish naked pictures of kids and naked videos, AI videos of people and children, and having their offices raided in France. Okay, that is not all for producing poorly poor taste so-called art that is not art. It's shit. You know, we need practical uses for AI. This is why when people keep talking about AI this and AI that, I say, look, this happened with the textile industry, for example, with the industrial revolutions in the United Kingdom, for example, where thousands of people were fired from their jobs in the mills and they had to find another way of another thing to do. This happened when we had mechanization of industry also and of agriculture. This happened when we had the electricity. Okay, this happened in the 80s with the computers. This will happen now with AI. This will happen in the future with some other technology. Okay, we have to look when you are trying to analyze history. You cannot look at the present moment and with your current bias. You have to try to uh, ignore your own feelings and your own bias and just look at it from start to beginning. From start from beginning. This one was good, right? From start to the end. Okay, go back like I did. Go back to the first industrial revolution and arrive here. And it's the same with the economy. And what experts, I don't know. Now they are talking about it. At least here in Europe, they are talking about it openly. I don't know if they are doing it in the United States. I see a couple of YouTubers talking about it, but what exists in the media and in the economic media, I have no idea. In the financial markets, I have no idea. I have not look at it in about a month because I decided to protect myself a bit of American media that is extremely toxic. No, it was making me physically ill. But what is happening right now is that people are trying to remove value of the dollar in their own economies. This is why the dollar is reducing its value. And this will be a part of the future irrelevance of the United States. It will not irrelevance in the sense economic irrelevance of the United States in the future, because they will no longer be able to use the leverage of the dollar. Okay, meaning you have to keep my economy up or yours is going down too. Basically, it's a form of economic blackmail. Uh, Although, like I have always said, economy, it doesn't have any morals. Okay, it only has logic. Okay, but okay. My God, I'm repeating myself. Sorry. And what I'm trying to tell you is this: is Trump only accelerated a process that was already happening, and you had people that right now they are kind of hated or seen with disdain in the United States, but that in the future people will talk about them, like Biden. Biden was trying to make the fall smoother. He was investing in green energy. He was doing all of that. Maybe because he or the people behind him had a plan to continue to keep the United States as a high value economy where people would want to invest. So using green energy, trying to have more lenient political and lenient is not the correct word. More cooperative political, economic relationships with China, with Europe, with other countries and blocs. He was trying to smooth the fall that he knew that they would have. And then the Americans decided, in their infinite wisdom, to elect a lunatic to the White House. And that lunatic arrived. He destroyed all of what Biden was trying to do. I'm just talking about Biden. There are other presidents that also did it. Okay? And he simply started to burn the bridges. And I think Americans, they don't really know or understand, and I have said this in democratic channels, and to tell you the truth, the only guy that seems to understand this is that guy that sits in this truck and is working. Congrats for the by the way, congrats on the new track, Josh. The enemy from within. Okay, I'm not sponsored. Okay, and I'm not trying to associate myself to him. Okay, I'm just saying that I like his videos, that I subscribe to his channel, and that I think he's the only one that really understands that. And maybe because he's a working man. Okay, he's a guy that needs to work for a living. He's a guy that understands the variations, the prices of things. You know, if you damage this part of the economy, you are going to have consequences that are going to affect you. Okay, so the price of gasoline or diesel, whatever, is going to increase, or he's not going to have as many jobs hauling cargo from one side to the other. Okay, transportation companies are going to go down. Okay, and I look at those Democrats, and look, I tell in this moment I tell this to all Americans: vote Democrats. Even if you don't like them, vote Democrats, because first and foremost, you have to get rid of these people from seats of power. Okay, you have to try. This is the only way that you will have a controlled fall. If you choose the other side, you are going to burn down, and not in a nice way. You have to understand that you are going to have these difficulties. Okay, you are going to have price hikes. You are going to have a dollar that will not be worth the paper it's printed in. Okay, the American debt is, you are still going to have it there. It's still increasing, and you will have to pay it off with a dollar that is worthless. So instead of $1 paying $1 of debt. Okay, perhaps you are going to need $100 to pay $1 of debt. This is the truth. This is what happened. Look, this is what happened. Go back into history again. Go and see what happened in Germany during the Weimar Republic. Go and see how many Deutschmarks you needed to buy a loaf of bread. The money was still there, okay? It was still worth something. But the value of what you could buy with it, because flour, water, energy, labor, all of that increased, that was something else. So, for example, this is another example, okay? Not a real fact. One Deutschmark would buy one loaf of bread, then you would need 1,000 Deutschmarks to buy one loaf of bread. And if you look at your supermarkets, if you are conscious, if you know, are really there, you are seeing that happening. It's not very hard to understand this. My egg price has not varied too much. The only thing that has become a bit more expensive, but it has to do with climate factors, is olive oil, because our olive oil is very good, and other producers, like for example Spain and Greece and Italy, they had horrible olive oil years, not as bad as us. We also did not have a very good one, but it was good enough. So they started to sell our olive oil outside of the country, and they are still selling a lot of it. Okay, that was the only thing that really increased in price. And I keep saying, oh, the eggs price are they're much more expensive and this and that. Look, my friends, yesterday I went to a supermarket here, not going to say what supermarket, and I bought eggs from my hometown, bio, free-range chickens, meaning chickens that spend all day walking around in the dirt, okay, in the grass, skipping and frolicking in the grass, and then at night they go inside the barn, okay. Those type and no chemicals, no shit. just like I like them. I bought a dozen eggs, and the price was €1 and 70 cents, when before it was €1 and 50 cents. This is the type of increase that we are talking about. But if you are going to buy, for example, processed foods and easy meals and all of that, or prime grade meat, of course it's more expensive. There's a war going on. The price of grain is much more expensive. The price of fertilizer, it's much more expensive. So that increases the prices of meat. But look, you just have to be smart about it, okay? I used to go every day to a every day. Let's not exaggerate. Once a week to a butcher, and right now I buy the pre-packed meat. That is good. Sorry, but it is, okay? It's not. We are not in America. We are not in America. We have completely different regulations on it. And I go to the butchers once a month, because I realized it was getting much more expensive to buy my entire need for meat every day from the butchers. I don't eat processed shit. I buy vegetables, rice, pasta. I prefer to cook things, cook food, okay? Have food to eat, or that the people that live with me cook. I don't want to talk about family. Okay, the people that live with me cook. I prefer to eat that instead of eating some shit that comes in a package. Okay, because look, there is nothing wrong with I don't know, buying a couple of schnitzels like I did also. I saw it and I like it. It's from a German company, and I like that their schnitzels. So I bought a couple of that frozen, popped them in the in the air fryer, and ate it with some salad. Okay, and had myself a nice dessert of it. Okay, it tastes good sometimes. And look, and sometimes you need it. Look, the thing that I cannot I cannot eat, because I get physically sick with it. I don't know what the hell they put in it. And remember, they are also producing it according to our rules. Is American fast food. Maybe it's a psychological barrier, but every time I go to McDonald's, whatever shit I eat, it either comes out running from the mouth. You understand what I'm saying? I puke it, or I have the runs. Not good. I cannot digest that shit. I cannot digest it. And KFC, the same shit. Pizza Hut, the same shit. And don't get me started on Starbucks, because that is a very, for me as a Portuguese and as a coffee expert, I don't know how long I've been. When I was a kid, I used around here in where I live, we drink something which is called café com leite. It means it's coffee with milk. That is what we give our kids. All right? And that is what I used to drink. So don't get me started on Starbucks, because it has to be the most disgusting experience I have had in my entire life. It's this disgusting. It's terrible. But look, getting back to the dollar after my little rant. A lot of the things, a lot of the tackle that has been happening with Trump, it's because not him, but the people around him are realizing the major disaster that is growing, and that is going to grow, okay? Even without the threat of Europe of dumping American debt, they are already dumping enough for not to be affected by it. Now I'm going to get into the expert zone. I talked with someone that works in banking, and he told me this. Look, what the governments in Europe are doing, we just talked about Europe, okay? What the governments in Europe are doing is this. They are protecting their sovereign debt from contamination of the United States. So, right now, if the American economy crashes, it will affect business, meaning it will affect private banks, private investors, and maybe some business that still deals with the United States. But the economy, the governments themselves, they are already closed down, so to speak. To be simple, he explained it to me in other terms. I have 3 years of political economy, I can understand it. They're already shutting down their economies to contamination, meaning they are protecting, in this case, the Eurogroup. And look, the United Kingdom is also doing it. The issue here is that the United Kingdom is too dependent on their leverage of American debt. In Europe, correct me if I'm wrong, the United Kingdom is the country, sorry Scots, the Union, okay, in Europe that has the largest quantity of American debt. Okay, they did it deliberately, maybe to serve as a counterweight to the clear fact that they are dominated by the Americans, militarily, economically, politically. Everything that happens in the United States affects the UK. This is a clear sign of that dependence symptom, so to speak. Let's call it like that. Okay, but they have isolated this. My friend, he explained it to me very well. They isolated our economies so that if theirs goes down, ours will have effects. Will suffer effects. Have no doubts about it. But the Chinese economy will also be affected. The South American economies, the Canadians, the Mexicans, everyone will be affected. But the issue here is economic resilience. And this is what countries are doing. And this is why I keep telling Democrats that that relationship of trust cannot be retrieved. It would take generations. I'm not talking about 1 year or 2 years or 10 years or even 20 years. I'm talking about a century, maybe, with luck. Because if a normal person is in the White House, they will stop a lot of the things that they are doing, but they will not stop this economic resilience and this detachment of economies. And this is something that people need to understand. And as an American, you should understand why, like that American girl that I talked about that was complaining that things are much more expensive in Paris this year, because she had been gone for a year or something like that, and she had returned to Paris to work, and she was surprised that this and that was more expensive, and that then a friend of hers, a French friend, said, "No, it's not. Things are not more expensive here. It's your dollar that is worth less." This is going to happen, okay? It is already happening. It is already happening. Or, if you look, you just need to know how to add 1 plus 1. You just need to listen to a couple of American immigrants, expats that doesn't exist, by the way, immigrants. You just have to listen to what a lot of American immigrants residing in Europe are saying. Okay, They are watching it. A lot of them are even considering, for example, I heard this was right here in Portugal. It was a couple they moved here with their kids, and they were living. No, I'm not going to say, because then people might might go and watch their videos or whatever, and arrest them, and I don't like to do that. But basically, a couple that moved here to Portugal with their kids, that they are working and living here. I think the husband at least already has the permanent residence card, and they said that they have investment plans and the net things you could, those retirement plans and whatever in the United States, and that they were losing money with it. Were considering just to cash it in and invest it here in Portugal in a retirement plan here, okay, and in investment plans here, because it simply was not paying it off. I also heard of a retiree that was living here, and that she had to change her lifestyle a bit. Okay, she lives here with her granddaughter, so they had to move into a different part of town in a smaller house, and take care of their other debts, their other things, and she even started working, because her retirement was simply devaluating in value. Because you see, this is the example I was telling you about. Okay, you have a dollar that is worth €2, for example, and right now you already had the reverse. You have €1 is worth, I don't know. In practical terms, I will tell you this. In practical terms, with all of the exchange rate and all of that, you can go and see the exact number. But if you try to change that money with operational costs and all of that, €1 right now, it's probably worth almost $5. Simple as this. I'm talking about all of the operational costs, all of that, how much it costs you to exchange your money and do that, if you don't have specific plans that allow you to have a direct conversion. In that case, it's the direct conversion. But I'm talking about arriving at the airport and going into a shop or something like that to exchange your money, if you do it like that. But the issue here is also, what does a dollar buy you? And what does a euro buy you? And these things are going to continue. And I think Americans should really think about what is going to happen. I know that right now you are very focused in getting rid of your Manuel Mussolini, but of the Führer and his Orange Reich. But first of all, I don't know if you are going to be able to do it, okay? And then it's going to have real consequences, okay? Vance being booed in the Olympic Committee, it's not a freak event. These are real boycotts that are going to happen. Now, I don't know what the hell is going to happen, for example, with the World Cup. What I do know is what I'm hearing here, and I have listened to it in the TV. Right now, no, because all that is passing in the TV here right now, it's the floodings. Okay, because we have more important things to think about than some World Cup in the United States. But when they were interviewing people, you had entire groups of people that had simply decided to not go to the United States. And look, we're not talking about ethnic minorities, all right? We are talking about stereotype white pink Europeans like me, okay? We are not talking about people that would look like Mexicans or some shit like that, okay? We are talking about garden variety Europeans that are not going to the United States for the World Cup, that have cancelled their tickets, that have canceled their stays in American cities, and that is all money that is not going to enter in your coffers. And I watched a couple of YouTubers in the United States. Went and watched them just for out of curiosity, and I see that some cities are still investing in infrastructures that will probably be very nice and will just stay there and devalue because people are not going. And look, and even if people go, even in, look, I'm not saying that the stadiums are going to be completely empty, but the spirit of the World Cup is lost. Simple as that. It is completely lost, and I am sure they are going to move a lot of pieces in the chessboard to try and mend this situation. But I am seeing a lot of cancelling in the horizon. Countries like Germany and France are seriously discussing not going to the World Cup. And those countries, for example, France, they can say to Portugal this: why are you going to? Don't go. They can say to Spain, or Spain can say to Portugal, or whatever. Or Portugal can look at Spain and say, look, we are not going. Countries talk amongst themselves. Some have more influence than others, but the truth is that if it's profitable to act as a united front, we are going to do it. A Portuguese is constantly arguing with the Spanish, and the Spanish is constantly arguing with the Portuguese. But if a French tries to insult us, we are going to insult the French back. This is normal. These are things that happen. This is the way the world works. And Germany can influence a lot of countries, for example, not going to the World Cup, boycotting it too. So if France and Germany, for example, decide to boycott the World Cup, it's not just France and Germany. A lot of countries will follow suit. And as for the fans, well, I would not, especially with my beautiful social media, I would not step foot in the United States. Not even on my way to Mexico or to Canada. Nope. I don't deal with authoritarian regimes. Don't deal with it, okay? The only authoritarian place I would consider visiting would be China, because I heard it's beautiful. Some parts, not the Great Wall. They tell me that is really not that exciting. I'm talking about other things like the more quaint little towns and historic places and all of that. But for another video. So I'm going to end this here. I already ranted away from the subject of the video, as always. But I want you to consider this relationship between gold and debt and oil and the dollar. Because if you watch closely these relationships, you are going to understand a lot of what is happening in political terms. Why there is an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf, and why all of this is happening, and why all of this pressure over Iran is playing out, and all of this. And don't understand this as a single answer to a phenomena. You have to consider the main causes, but you also have to understand the accessory causes. You also have a lot of political dissent in Iran. You have an economy that is struggling in Iran. You have a younger population that does not want to conform with the mantras of the Ayatollahs in the back. You also have to consider Mossad agents infiltrating in Iran to weaken the regime. You have to consider a lot of things. Okay, you have to consider also that Iran is aiding Russia, selling them Shahid drones, for example. It's not a single cause, but you also have to consider the major cause behind it. Imagine, look, people want to keep oil relevant, and it's still relevant, okay? But the issue here is that it's becoming irrelevant enough for it not to be the basis. A minute, please. Sorry, got a bit of a go. But as I was saying, the dollar cannot base its value exclusively on the oil and on financial speculation as they have been doing. It's losing its value. It's losing its grip. And the American economy, is so deeply in debt that if something more happens to this situation, it's going to come down. And this is not doom and gloom. This is not futurology. This is me giving you an opinion right here in the cafe, okay, about what I think it can happen. So, if I was you, when you see, for example, a lunatic attacking Venezuela or attacking Nigeria, you have to consider what is behind it. And you cannot get lost, oh, he's doing it as a cover-up for the Epstein files and this and that. Well, partially he is doing it because of that. But there are major causes behind it. Major causes behind it. Major movements. Major fortunes that are trying to maintain the relevance of their own income basis. And I think, I'm going to repeat myself, but I think American Democrats, they are not seeing the full scope of it. A couple of them are, but most of them are either seeing it just on their specific little world view, or they are not seeing the bigger picture. But people that are more down to earth, like that YouTuber I talked about, people that are more down to earth, that see the consequence, see things happening where they stand. Look, they are not looking at some hypothetical saying. Okay, they are working in trucks, whatever. They are going to the supermarket. They are buying groceries. They are paying energy bills. They are doing this. They are doing that. Those people, they understand the effects of things on their lives. They go to the supermarket, they see the price of meat, the price of coffee, the price of eggs, the price of this, the price of that, increasing every single week. And look, and someone pointed out this to me, and very well, thank you. We are seeing prices, when they are showing prices of groceries in American stores, that's minus tax. When they arrive at the till, they are going to pay tax over that. It's not like here in Europe. Here in Europe, if I go, there's a carton of milk, 1 liter. It's written down 27 cents. It's 27 cents. In America, no, it's 27 cents plus the tax at the till. I don't even know how you can live that way. It's absolutely absurd. But that is subject for another video. So I think my advice to Americans would be to, if you have money to invest, if you don't have money to invest, try to have some gold with you, if you are able to do it. If you have money to invest, I would invest in, I don't know, in euros, in yuan, in pesos, in Canadian dollars, whatever, but I would not invest 1 cent in US dollars. No. That's That is that dead land. Okay, it will not. I think this is my opinion. It will not crash all of a sudden. It will be a slow rot. But there are a couple of events that may cause it to fall down. If Trump doubles down on these attacks on NATO, on their European allies, on Canada, it will be a massacre. The next day after that begins to happen, the American economy will drop down, and you will like in the in the Weimar Republic, you will need $1,000 to buy a loaf of bread. But look, Americans voted for him, so now they have to deal with him. Folks, thank you all for listening to my little video, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.